Hello, everyone. Welcome to Around Town TV. My name is Carla Berlin, Minnesota's lifestyle and business experts. We've been featuring the best kept secrets, businesses, organizations, and people since 2003. And I'm thrilled to have with me tonight well known on air personality, crisis strategist, licensed attorney, and the host of the Crisis Files. Please welcome Roshini Rajpuri.
Thank
Did
you
I
so
say that
much,
right?
Carla. It's great to be on with you, and it's great to talk about all that we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh, it's what you're doing is so exciting. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your history and background. You're well known, you're recognized, but your resume is huge. And I think there's a lot of things that a lot of people may or may
Well, I
not know
think you're
about you.
you're overly flattering, but it's been interesting because I've blended this life of media and law and crisis strategy, kind of landed where we are today. But a little bit of the backstory. I'm originally from Edina, Minnesota, and I set out to go to college. I went to college out east at Boston College and really went to college planning to be a trial attorney. And the TV bug hit while I was in college. So I left my undergrad years planning still to go to law school, but really wanting to become a TV reporter, which is what I did. That was my first career, as it turned out. And in early 2006, I left television news. My last TV reporting market was Detroit. And at the
Wow.
time, it was a top 10 TV market. I had worked in Minneapolis for a couple of years before Detroit at the Fox 9 affiliate, and then went to Detroit. And in early 2006, made the decision to leave TV news to move home to Minneapolis to start my business, Roshini Multimedia. So I've been in business for going on 17 years as a crisis strategist, executive coach, and professional speaker. But I really kept the media insider world going. So I fell in love with talk radio while I was a TV reporter. And how did that happen? It was because some of the stations over the different markets I worked at, we would have sister radio stations, and they would ask me to come on to either fill in on the morning show or talk about TV sweeps pieces. So I really fell in love with talk radio while I was in TV news. So when I
Hmm.
launched my business in 2006, I said to myself, part of my business plan is I want to have my own radio show one day. I think it would be a great platform, be a great way to mingle a lot of the things I'm doing. And that happened, fortunately, in 2012, about 6 years into my business life, with WCCO Radio in Minneapolis. And I had a Sunday show for 9 years, which I sunset in 2021 after 9 years, and really was an interview show. Got to know a lot of different kinds of subject matter experts and other newsmakers and a lot of regular people. And that in turn, while I was growing my business as an executive coach and crisis strategist, I was talking about a lot of issues of the day, current events, sometimes crises on my show. So all of that is really what was brewing in the background after I left TV news, starting the business, but still staying a media insider. So that's really led to where I am today, Carla.
So that's sort of what curated this whole the crisis files or kind of started
I
brewing
would
it?
say, yeah. I mean, I would say a lot of those seeds or the, growth of the crisis files really, or the idea for the crisis
Mhm.
files came from this combination of my media life. I'm also a licensed attorney. So the legal world that I bring in with my different executive and other corporate or professional services clients. I've also worked with sports teams, universities, places that are always dealing with leadership, possible crises,
Mhm.
communicating well, media relations. Those are the kinds of clients I deal with. But I say it's not a matter of if, but when.
Well,
Crisis
and
will
that
rock your world. Yeah.
absolutely. And for all of you listening and tuning in and watching, that is one thing that we've talked about. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a C-level executive or part of a coach of a big university. Um, it happens to just about everyone. And so for those, let's talk about what is the crisis files.
So I've been working on this concept since about summer 2021 as I
Mhm.
was sunsetting my radio show, Real Talk with Roshini on WCCO Radio. And I didn't even know at that time what it would eventually become. The
Mhm.
initial vision for the Crisis Files was a television pilot to eventually pitch slash sell, try to sell to
Mhm.
television and streaming executives. So that day did come in that we filmed the pilot in April of 2022. And I'm in
Mhm.
the early stages right now of pitching it to streaming and television executives. I do want it to come to a screen near you very soon. But as the pilot was being edited over the spring and the summer, the content was just so ready because we are living in such extreme times of crises. And
Right.
I said to my team, we need to get this out there. Let's launch as a podcast first as we wait for the video element to be edited and I start pitching that on that front. So in August 2022, the Crisis Files launched as a podcast. It's on all the major streaming podcast networks. It's also at thecrisisfiles.com. So you can listen, you can watch the little teaser pilot on there. We have video elements, audio elements. But every week, the Crisis Files drops a new episode. And we really take rip from the headlines crises, real life crises that are happening. I created or curated, I should say, a crisis squad. So these are subject matter experts that shot the pilot with me and cover PR, law, DEI, mental health, because these are
Mhm.
really detailed areas, dynamic areas. Crisis is not just about law and optics. There are so many layers to crises, whether it's a family crisis, an organizational crisis, a sports team, a death,
Mhm.
whatever it is, a teen superstar, uh, you know, gets caught by the paparazzi after a drunken night when she's
Right.
17, those kinds of things. So these things happen. So the Crisis Files really, I will say on a fun level, was inspired by a combination of the ABC show called Scandal, for those of you who are
Oh, yes.
fans of Kerry Washington and
Mhm.
Scandal, as well as I believe it was on Bravo, uh,
Right.
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. So
Yes.
kind of a convergence of those two uh,
Very cool.
really were my inspiration. And what the Crisis Files is trying to do is empower and inspire you to not only prevent crises, but maybe deal with some of the crises you're dealing with right now.
Well, instead of be canceled, you can help people make a comeback and actually protect themselves.
Yes,
And that's huge.
because we are living in a time, unfortunately, of, this phone can take photos and videos and post them immediately, and they can ruin people's reputations. So, what we're
Right.
saying is, hey, we are here for you as the Crisis Files. My Crisis Squad and I are here to say, but, let's stop, let's
Mhm.
discern, let's really break apart the issues that are happening. Let's find solutions for you. So, we've been able to dive into some really interesting dilemmas of the day, whether
Mhm.
it's the Live v PGA Tour or the
Right.
fact that the Queen of England died after 70 years of reign and
Right.
the crisis in the monarchy. The Twitterverse gives us a lot of interesting things. For example, Twitter itself versus Elon Musk. So we dived into that in an earlier episode of the Crisis Files. So we
Mhm.
dive into these kind of ripped from the headlines topics, Carla, and then we try to give you the real person, whether as a person or a
Right.
business person or a family person, some actual concrete ideas for how to
Mhm.
apply them to your life.
How do you choose your topics?
It's almost like there are so many. We have to be really picky and choosy. It's what are people talking about? What
Mhm.
is a hot topic? What really
Like
appeals
the
to
Queen
me?
is dead.
The Queen is dead. I mean, how
Yeah.
can you not deal with Queen Elizabeth after
Right.
70 years and 500 world leaders were at her funeral in September? I mean, that has not happened for a while. It will never happen again. Won't happen
Right.
in my lifetime. So
No.
we needed to deal with that both from an optics and kind of
Mhm.
an event perspective, but
Right.
also the crisis that is the monarchy. With her being gone, what does that say about the monarchy's future? And in that particular crisis file, the case file,
Hmm.
I invited in another subject matter expert. He's a film critic, Paul McGuire Grimes. He's not one of my crisis squad members, but he was a regular contributor on my radio show. And he and I have different opinions about the monarchy. I do not think it should continue to exist. So we really got into that. So we
Interesting.
really, yeah, we dive into it. We're not afraid. And we really hope that we touch on some different things that you're talking about around the dining table or at the water cooler.
Well, it's fun as a friend and a colleague in the industry to watch you bring all facets in your legal background. You've been working. I mean, one of the things you've done with your business is work with people on crisis and management and mentorship and coaching, and you speak. And so we're watching you bring all that in, and then into what I think will be your pilot, a pilot that will turn into a series and a TV show for
Well,
years to come.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I say
Yeah.
it's not a matter of if, but when this
Right.
this
Right.
pilot will become a TV show or streaming show that's on a screen where you can watch. Really, the inspiration, what I want to do, my intention is to empower people with the crisis files. There's a little bit of irreverence in my style as a host.
Right.
I'm very much a reality check kind of person. I don't think people should kid themselves. I think they should discern what's around them. And that even includes media. Look, I'm an ex-TV reporter.
Mhm.
And I think one crisis right now is our own local and national media. I don't know
I
that they're
agree.
always covering things and
Yes.
digging deep and really finding all the facts, and social media mixes into this brew, and it makes it very difficult, I think, sometimes to be a journalist today. I'm no longer a journalist. I don't consider myself a journalist. I applaud the journalists out there who are really still trying
Right.
to do journalism. So that could be a future case file. We might dive into the current state of media and
Oh,
how
please.
it's not serving our country. It was really meant to be that
Mhm.
fourth estate, that fourth branch that
Right.
was the overseer of the three branches of government in the United States.
Well, and one of the things, so just for a test I did last night, I Googled because I saw somebody post the death toll from Ian. So I Googled how many people have died as of now in Hurricane Ian. Every single from social media to every major network to local networks, everyone had a different number. And it was a range from 70 to 115. That shouldn't be like that. I could
No,
see it within one or two, or that's life has really changed, and it really is a crisis, which is why I feel like a lot of our country is divided, which is probably another show with us to have another topic. But
yeah, I mean, Carla, what you describe is true factual inaccuracy. And if we can't rely on the media to give us the facts, just the facts, ma'am, then I think we're a little messed up as a country. And it
agree.
really takes all of us as discerning citizens to say we want this to be neutral. We
Right.
don't care what you're posting on social. We don't care about your personality. We want you to just be a news reporter and give us the facts and
Right.
be honest and be discerning and challenge leadership, challenge government officials who are out there. That's what I would really like to see. And I will always be an advocate for that. I'm an ex TV reporter. I will always invite journalists to come on the crisis files and to share and to help us discern. I will always be an advocate for true journalism. But each journalist out there needs to ask him and herself those questions. Am I being discerning, or am I just part of this machine that I'm expected to crank out content and be a personality and do a bunch of social posts that gets likes and shares?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember when I was in college, I was my professors were the old school journalism, the facts. And if I even got a little bit of my own little narrative in there where I didn't even a lot of times realize it, no, I had to rewrite it. And now I think today, a lot of what I wrote, it, we're seeing it evolve into more and more and more of someone's narrative or their what kind of where they're leaning politically. And where years and years ago, nobody really knew or could tell. And there's very few journalists on air today that I can't watch and say, oh, they're a Democrat or they're a Republican or they're conservative or they're this, or you can pretty much tell by their story, or especially if they wrote it themselves or the station or the network. But yeah, I digress a little bit off of your topic here, but I just thank you
Well,
for
I mean,
bringing it up.
on that
Yeah.
point, Carla, you make a
Yeah.
really great point in that objectivity that I think we grew up with in our generation
Right.
of what a journalist is supposed to be. I mean, I happen to be Catholic, all right?
Mhm.
But when I was on air as a television reporter, I would never wear a cross on my neck
Mhm.
because
Right.
I didn't want someone who was not a Christian to think, okay, she's biased against me. So instead,
Right.
I'm either going to wear neutral jewelry or no jewelry,
Mhm.
because that shouldn't be part of what someone's labeling and thinking they're getting a certain lens. Now, we're
Agree.
all human and it's hard to completely eliminate bias,
Mhm.
but as true journalists should really try to show the various sides of any story and be as neutral as possible in how they report it.
Agree, agree. For those of you that are watching, my name is Carla Berlin, host of Around Town TV, and we have Roshini, who's host of the Crisis Files, but you probably recognize her, well-known on-air personality here in town. Also is a licensed attorney, crisis strategist, and we're just thrilled. We're talking about the Crisis Files, who she also is the host for. And it is her baby and if you are looking to watch the Crisis Files, you can watch it on any of your favorite podcast platforms, but also go to, and it's in the description here of this live stream, thecrisisfiles.com, and it's thecrisisfiles.com. But also, you're on social media. You're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, correct?
Yeah, so it's a combination. So thecrisisfiles.com is our website right now, which doubles as our YouTube page. So there you will see all of, so far, 11 episodes. Every week we drop an episode on Monday. So case file number 11 dropped this week, and it was Serena's evolution. We talked about Serena, quote unquote, retiring and what that means and just the power of brand. And my squad member, Jen Hellman, who is a PR expert, the CEO of Goff Public, which is a PR firm in St. Paul, Minnesota. She's part of my crisis squad. And we dived into that topic with her. But on thecrisisfiles.com, you'll get all of the podcast episodes. You'll also get different videos. So our pilot teaser is on there, as well as some of the different media I've done with different outlets around the country. And we'll, of course, put this show on thecrisisfiles.com. And then if you are just totally glued to podcasts, every major podcast network has The Crisis Files. So you can just search us and find us in that way. And we are on Instagram and Twitter at The Crisis Files. So we hope you follow us, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and listen and share. And I also hope that people send us through our different channels your own crises, because that could be a future topic for a case file in a future Crisis Files episode.
Well, not only a topic for a future Crisis File show, but also, again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if you yourself, your company, your organization, your whatever it may be, church, or
even your family,
family, right, are in a crisis and you need a coach, or you need help, Roshini, how can they contact you?
So absolutely. So go to The Crisis Files on Twitter or Instagram, and you can directly message us on those platforms. You can also go to my website, ownyourwow.com, and we have a contact us page there. So we would love to hear from you. We have been getting personal crises from different people or ideas. We have some people who want to talk about the Ukraine versus Russia war. We have someone who wants to talk about the teacher shortage. So we are getting ideas all the time. And my team and I are constantly striving to pull together future episodes that will help you, because we really want to empower you with the crisis files.
That's fantastic. Gosh, I really appreciate just what you're sharing with our viewers. And again, as you're talking, I think of all, there's so many, our world is in a crisis.
It's like a daily, I mean, it's almost
Right.
exhausting, Carla.
It is. Yep. There's some nights that, I've always been a great sleeper, but I think about just so many topics. And so, not to get, political or whatever, I'm not going to go there, but I'll wake up and I'll think about something. And then my mind will just keep going. And I'll think about it's almost like a whole bunch of different, you're on the internet and you're opening up all these different tabs. And it's like, oh, and I keep thinking about how are we going to fix so many, there's just so much right now out there, and it's heavy, and it's weighing on a lot of people.
Yeah, it's weighing on a lot of people, and we really try to dive into the practicals. So for example, the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce is one of our sponsors, and we're getting into in a near future episode with the CEO of the chamber, Jonathan Weinhagen. We're getting into this whole rethinking remote. So the remote work and the hybrid work structures. So he gets into that with us. So that's a topic we get into with my diversity and inclusion and equity expert, Abdul Amari. Dr. Abdul Amari and I talk about in an episode called Touchy Talkie. And we get into the whole topic of LGBTQ and pronouns. And so he has some very thoughtful things to say and some guidance for all of us who are trying to be inclusive, don't want to put our, foot in our mouths. And so
Right.
these are the kinds of things we're trying to do on the crisis files. We really take every issue head on, and we're trying to empower you to be more thoughtful and more inclusive, and also just smarter and wiser as you go out there and live your life.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, the timing couldn't be better. And is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you wanted to share about the crisis files, or anything else
Well,
related to that?
we Carla, thanks for asking. We are always looking for what is driving you, what's keeping you up at night. So we'd love to hear from you on those things, because we pride ourselves in kind of, being ripped from the headlines. These things are out there. The team and I are always coming up with ideas, but there's nothing better than our listeners and our viewers. So please reach out to us at The Crisis Files on Instagram and Twitter, as well as thecrisisfiles.com. Online, you can drop us a message. Listen, my direct email is at the end of every episode. You can email me directly and let us know, what's keeping you up at night. And it can be anonymous. We do not need to reveal who you are. But if you have an interesting situation, a dilemma, a controversy, an issue at work, at home, in your community, we want to help. And, I took a lot of time. This show has been in development and in my mind for more than a year, before we shot the pilot in April, launched the podcast in August. And we have this amazing team. My crisis squad is amazing. I draw on other subject matter experts, so we can really find the sources of information for you.
Well, and your whole journey of your career has really been curating this whole thing, like you said, planting the seeds, and it's been fun to watch you get to that point. We will also, when this is over, I'll go back in and post. You can also reach her at her website of ownyourownwow.com.
Ownyourwow.com. Yep,
Ownyourwow.com. And then I'll also put in, if it's okay with you, your email address, if that's all right.
Absolutely perfect.
Yep. For those who don't want to have to search. When you're in a crisis, sometimes it's hard to be searching for something. So we'll get that out to you.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll make sure that it's at your fingertips. This will be posted across a variety of the platforms. So you may be, if you're not watching this live with us and you're watching it, once it's been embedded on the various platforms, just know that check her out on all social media, on Instagram and LinkedIn. You're on
Instagram and Twitter at
Okay.
The Crisis Files. Instagram and Twitter at The Crisis Files. And then, of course, on LinkedIn and Facebook, Roshini Rajkumar, my full name. But thecrisisfiles.com is the site for the show. That's our YouTube channel and website, and you can subscribe there. You can get everything, The Crisis Files, there. So It's pretty easy to find us, and on all these platforms, the podcast platforms that we're on, if you just type in The Crisis Files, we are the first thing that comes up. So it's almost impossible to not find us, Carla.
You're absolutely right. And for branding purposes, make sure you write, especially on Twitter, and it'll pop right up as
Yes.
you shared with me. And then you know you have the right person and organization. With that, is there anything else you'd like to say as we start to close the show today?
Well, Carla, I just want to say thanks so much. And I appreciate that you have this show and you're tapping into the community and you're really trying to bring different kinds of things to your viewers. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, I appreciate you being on the show. And for those tuning in, we always are grateful to you. We could not have been on air for 20 years without you and your support, along with our featured businesses, our clients, our colleagues, and all of you that support us. And we go live every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do take the summers off, but we will be here next Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Central Time again. And again, Roshini, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us.
Thank you, Carla.
All right. We'll see you all next Tuesday evening. Bye-bye.
I go where everyone is friendly. I go